Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Andrew Capel. Let's get started. All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the show. I'm joined here with Tommy Ryan. Tommy and I had gotten connected actually a couple of weeks ago at the EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System conference in Washington, D.C. Tommy was there with some of the members of his leadership team and got to know a little bit about ThreeWill, but I'm not going to spoil that. So, Tommy, why don't you join us and share a little bit of the why?
Thanks for having me, Andrew. Yeah, I love starting with why. It's important to understand what gets you up in the morning and why you do what you do in your job. And, for me, when I look at the why for ThreeWill, going back to starting the company, I loved technology, I loved my brother, and I loved helping people. And that all came together in starting ThreeWill 24 years ago. And it was my brother and I just dreaming what a consulting company could look like that had high integrity and really cared about making an impact on the customer. And so over the years, we've surrounded ourselves with other people that kind of share that same desire to help people and care for what they do. So we had early on in the company, we had a tagline of choose to succeed. And that came out of the name of ThreeWill, because three and will, the second part of that is free will, yeah. One of our important kind of values we have as a company. And so that self-determination that, hey, I have a choice to make. I can choose to succeed or choose to fail in certain endeavors in life. And we like to be around people that choose to succeed.
Nice. And so it's been over 20 years. Congratulations on that. Tommy, I'm curious, what are some of the values or traits of the business that have stayed consistent? And what are some of the things that have evolved over the past couple of years?
Oh, interesting. It's a people-centered business. So being in services, you are, based on the reflection of your company is how your people, hold themselves and how they do their work. And we've had really some of the same core kind of essence of who we are as a company. But of course, it's changed over the years as we had more people join us and add more to the dynamic of who is ThreeWill. And EOS, you were talking about EOS. We went through EOS after a pretty significant event where I took the business forward and my brother went to another organization. And in that process, we decided to pivot to another type of organization, more of a managed services type organization to journey with our customers versus being project-based. So that, was, something that made us a lot different as an organization, but it was intentional because it gave us ability to be more stable as an organization, having longer term clients. And that whole essence of caring, it was really hard to start a relationship with a client and then 3 months later moving to the next relationship.
Yeah.
And we kept a lot of those relationships and had repeat work from time to time over the years, but we decided to design into the business, if we care so much, let's have it to be a managed service that we journey with the client. Also in that process in EOS, we talked about what are our three uniques, what are our core values, and we redesigned some of our core values and simplified them, went from 7 down to 4 different core values. And we had a new one emerge that wasn't in the original core values. And that was kind of a sign of, we have some different people that have joined us that have added to the kind of the flavor of who we are. And then, really where we've arrived, our three uniques describe it well. It's journey with you, depth of knowledge, and measure success. So it's measuring our clients' success. And so we've found that that's been integral. It's the lens that we see everything through when we help customers is, are we taking a journey with them? Are we using our depth of knowledge? Are we narrowing down to things that we can have some deep knowledge with our clients? And then are we measuring success? And productivity can be squishy. I mean, that's what we do as an organization, help with productivity. So putting a measure on that, for us, it's hours that we save for the customer by making, a system, a way of doing work more productive.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned productivity, technology solutions, and managed services. So yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about the verticals, and then I don't know how many offerings or the categorization of the offers, but would love to just understand that, and maybe a little bit inside of like how you settled on those after the transition.
Yeah, that's a good question, and it has evolved, and we really have come down to a point of having one service. We call that community management. Another way to look at it is like productivity as a service, where we're their fractional productivity department. And so we're looking for organizations that say, I know I can get more out of my Microsoft software I own to be more productive. I just don't know where to start, and I don't know the capabilities. I need a guide to help me with that. So we have that community management where it's a fraction. It's like half of the cost of a single FTE if you were to hire someone that had the skill set. But you're working with a firm that has a lot of breadth and depth and experience that we can bring to the table to accelerate those productivity solutions. So that is the one service. A caveat to that is you have some organizations that have an acute pain point as it relates to productivity, and they want to solve that problem. And so we've created a series of quick starts that say, here's how we solve that problem out of the gate, and it's a fixed cost. And we package it up with them with that community management to say, let's fix that pain and then journey with you for 3 months so you can see how we can be your partner. And so it's a great kind of onboarding of a partner that might not be ready yet to say, let's take a community management journey with ThreeWill. They might say, I need an intranet, or I need my teams, cleaned up, or a file share moved onto the platform.
Yeah. Yeah. So those are, in essence, they could be like an appetizer or like a, getting started without a huge commitment. It's a quick win, and solving those pain points.
Yeah, those are like, they range in like 9,000 to say 16,000, and there's one that is lumpier than that, but most of them are in that 9 to 15K range. So for a 4-month engagement with a client where you're solving a major problem for them and you're journeying with them to drive the adoption of that, we find that if that organization has that pain, it's a really great way to start the relationship.
Absolutely. And I have to ask about AI and Microsoft Copilot. Is that a part of your community management service offering, or is that?
It sure is.
Okay.
I don't know if you looked at the deck, Andrew, or you're just leading me into that. That's interesting.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah. So we have something we call the hierarchy of productivity, and it's all about how do you work through lower level needs of productivity and work your way up to the top. It's almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that you have foundational elements that help you mature in productivity. And it starts with culture, who you are, what are the core processes that drive your organization, so we know what to amplify. Then it's governance, a safe, kind of repeatable environment that you know where information is put, what tools you're going to use to be productive as an organization. And then we get into collaboration, helping you work together better. It's always better together, we find, in getting work done. And then communication, taking authoritative content that comes out of that collaboration and making that available as knowledge in your organization. And then automation is one of those higher level things of productivity. And the highest is AI. We feel that if you do all that fundamental work, then AI can be more powerful. And it's a little bit of that, if you have garbage in, garbage out, AI is only as good as the data set. So we find that kind of progression helps you create clean, authoritative content that you can make decisions on with powerful tools like AI. And that is one of our quick starts. We have some people that's where they want to start. We don't think that's necessarily the best place to start, but we can help them understand. We call it Copilot enablement, where we can show them use cases and essentially head off at the pass disappointments they might have with Copilot. Because a lot of people will get started with it and get frustrated. It doesn't do what I want it to do. And it's not understanding where the limitations are. And we've got that exposure to what those are, and we can help guide customers with that and pick a use case that will have an impact and is supported by Copilot. And sometimes we have to go into some of the AI services of Microsoft to custom design something, but we can help people with Copilot out of the box and do it in a way that's less frustrating for them.
Interesting. And it's funny. People want to start with like the shiny object at the top. You have to.
That's right.
Yeah. You have to, give them what they're looking for, but also to manage those expectations and just not set them up for disappointment, but also realize, hey, we have to do the work to make it up to this point to realize the outcomes you're looking for.
That's right. That's right. And so, there's just going to be some things that we say, here's a use case for AI, but your organization's not ready for it yet. We just have to go back and hit some of the fundamentals to work our way up to there. But this use case is, hey, you can do that without having some of this maturity in that hierarchy of productivity.
Interesting. So Tommy, the last question is the who. This wasn't on our original show sheet, but I'm just vibing with the direction of the conversation. So who is it that you help, the types of businesses, and then who do you usually engage with at the customer side?
So we have 3 verticals, and those verticals are home and community-based healthcare. It's something that we really care about, and we have a lot of experienced engineers that have parents that are in that stage in life where they have home healthcare or elder care. We ended up having a lot of clients in community health, and we just kind of went with that and ended up getting a lot of recommendations into other clients. So that formed that vertical for us. And then we've got real estate development. And, that's been an interesting space where people have to get more creative and higher collaboration around, working with people in the field and working across departments to accelerate how work is done in real estate development. And then the last one is more the small financial services. So credit unions, family offices, people that are dealing with finances and, want to create a better user experience, especially in the financial services of a credit union. It's all about the member and what the member experience is. So from the time they come in the door to when they leave, to make that a great process for them.
Interesting. And then who's normally the champion or who has the mandate to help drive the productivity that you all help with?
Yeah, I think it's at the C level. And one of the nice things about where our business has gone, where it's a managed service that's more for small, medium-sized businesses, is that we can have that conversation. We have Fortune 10 clients today that I can't have that conversation with the CEO or the COO. We're just, we don't have that breadth like an Accenture has to have that kind of relationship. But when we're working, with, a company that's elder care here in Atlanta, I can have that CEO conversation. And then usually they're handing it off to the CIO, COO, to help operate that and, run the project. But I think it's important for that C level. And I've had conversations with you, Andrew. I know you see the CEO as a very fundamental relationship to have. And I've had some CEO relationships recently, and I don't know why I'm timid about having that CEO relationship, but I've found that that's a really, I say, rewarding relationship to build. It is from a business standpoint, but also I've been able to kind of share what it is to be a CEO of our company with a CEO of another company.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that you can help each other out with. And it might not be for the project, but it's almost things in life to, how do you survive as a CEO?
Visionary. Yeah, the EOS model is a good one. I find myself talking to, just hearing or working with the CEOs, and like I've made some referrals to the EOS implementers. So
cool.
So, all right, we'll wrap it up there. And Tommy, what's the best way for folks who might be interested in learning more about ThreeWill?
You can go to our website, ThreeWill.com. It's ThreeWill.com. Also, our blog is WorkTogetherBetter.com.
Cool. We will link that up in the show notes.
Yeah. I have one other thing.
Okay.
I kind of mix my life as a small-scale farmer with my job as a CEO of a consulting firm. And I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. It's called Sowing Success. And it brings together that whole choose to succeed and sowing seeds in the garden.
Yeah.
And how I learn lessons in both that kind of translate to each side of that.
Yeah, I saw some of your posts, and you saw my sorry attempt at a plant tower. I need a consultant
I did
for
see
that. I need a consultant for that. But yeah, that's really interesting. And like, it just makes me think of like the computer networks versus like the plant networks. Like how like there's similarities. I think it's like mycelium running and just like how,
that's right.
How things are.
Yeah.
So
there we go. That's another podcast.
Yeah. We should have talked about this.
Don't get me started.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
This is, we're just over 15 minutes, so we're going to have to wrap it up here. But if you want to learn more about the similarities between plants and gardening and agriculture and technology, I think Tommy's the person to talk to.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate this time together.
Absolutely. Thanks for checking out the show. Please follow along on YouTube, LinkedIn, and wherever you get your podcasts.